Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Clayton County Board of Education work session. Today is April 24th, 2023. The time is 6:08 p.m. We apologize for being a little lengthy in executive session. At this time, I need you all to please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let me read the ethics statement. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going through this so quickly. I forgot I do need to call the roll. Okay, let me call the roll. District 1, Ms. Jasmine Bowles.
Present.
District 2, Mr.
Present.
Mark Christmas. District 3, Jesse Gorey, that's me. District 4, Ms. Victoria Williams.
Present.
District 5, Dr. D. Haney.
Present.
District 6, Ms. Mary Baker.
Present.
District 7, Ms. Sabrina Hill.
Present.
District 8, Ms. Joy Tillis Cooper.
Present.
District 9, Mr. Benjamin Straker.
Present and excited to be here.
Thank you. Our interim superintendent, Dr. Anthony Smith.
Present.
Our attorney, Mr. Clem Doyle.
Present.
Our board coordinator, Dr. Shantara Rump Carter. Our administrative assistant to the board and superintendent, Ms. Arlisha Battle. And our other administrative assistant, Ms. Don Blau. All right, so at this time, I will read the ethics statement. In accordance with Board Policy BH, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of such conflicts. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict with respect to any matter scheduled to come before the board at this meeting or appearing on our proposed agenda? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. All right, at this time, I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda, please. Ms. Bowles,
So moved, Madam Chair.
Ms. Williams.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we adopt the agenda. Please vote. And it is a unanimous vote. All right, at this time, we are going to discuss our recommendations from executive session where we discuss personnel and real estate. And I will turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, colleagues, and members of the community. Before we get to the board-approved positions for recommendations, I'd like to thank the board for their support of the position upgrades, and I'd like to announce those tonight. And if you're here, please stand. Ernest Mitchell, from captain to major. It's Mr. Mitchell here. Congratulations. Also, thank you for supporting the upgraded positions for Ms. Denise Hall from Director to Executive Director of Transportation. Ms. Hall, congratulations. And also, thank you for supporting the upgrade from Director to Executive Director of School Nutrition for Ms. Audrey Hamilton. Congratulations. Members of the board, I'd like for you to consider as interim principal for Sequoia Middle School, Mr. Jamari Hartsfield.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation of interim principal for Sequoia Middle School, Mr. Jamari Hartsfield. And I will make that motion. I need a second. Ms. Williams.
I second it.
It's been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for Mr. Jamari Hartsfield to be the interim principal of Sequoia Middle School. Please vote. It is a unanimous vote.
Mr. Hartsfield,
Hartsfield.
congratulations. Thank you, Board. I would also like for you to consider for the position of Director of Facility Services, Mr. Ed Blackwood.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for Mr. Ed Blackwood to be the Director of Facilities Services. Ms. Baker,
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for Mr. Ed Blackwood for the Director of Facility Services.
all right, I need a second. Ms. Hill.
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
It has been moved and properly second. Please vote. All right, it is a unanimous vote. It's Mr. Blackwood.
Congratulations, Mr. Blackwood. Welcome back. Also, Board, I would like for you to consider for the position of Director of Fine Arts, Dr. Prince Bowie.
Board members, I need a motion for the superintendent's recommendation for Dr. Prince Bowie to be the Director of Fine Arts. Mr. Straker,
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent for Dr. Prince Bowie, or Bowie, for Director of Fine Arts.
all right, I need a second. Ms. Cooper,
Madam Chair, I second that motion.
it has been moved and properly second that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Please vote. One and two, can I get a vote? Thank you. It is a unanimous vote.
Congratulations, Dr. Bowie. Those are all the recommendations I have for tonight. Thank you, Board.
All right, those that have been recommended, you all please stay in the audience for a moment. We would like to get a picture with you. We have, another recommendation from executive session regarding real estate. And I would like to, we need a motion, and I'm gonna make the motion to accept the recommendation from the land bank to extinguish the taxes for those parcels that were listed. I need a second. Ms. Cooper.
I second that motion, Madam
All
Chair.
right, it's been moved and properly second that we accept the recommendation of extinguishing the taxes. Please vote. All right, and the vote is 8 in favor and 1 opposed.
Madam Chair, can we correct the record? That was one abstention.
I'm sorry, that's not a, I should have said it, 1 abstention. Do you want to state your abstention, or you all right with it?
Just a matter of practice.
Okay. Did you get the votes, Ms. Bell? Okay. All right, I think we've covered everything that was discussed in executive session. Very quickly, could we get have the people that just received the promotion, if you all would come up, please, and we could get a picture. Do we have someone taking pictures? I'm making an assumption. Okay, okay, thank you. All right, let's just go out real quickly, you all. Or do you want to stand here? We'll just stay right here. Stay right here. You all come on in front of us. All right, at this time, we are going to have updates to the board. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could get Dr. Delphia Young, Deputy Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, to come to the podium.
Thank you.
Before she starts her updates, I think she's going to do some introductions.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, Interim Superintendent Smith, and all who are present. I'm very excited about a partnership that we have with our Clark Atlanta University. I call upon Dr. Clark, Tanya Clark, to introduce our esteemed guest from Clark Atlanta University and to share a brief summary about this partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Young. The NSF Noyce Teaching Fellow Scholarship is a 14-month grant in partnership with Clark Atlanta University, Clayton County Public Schools, Genesis Innovation Academy, and the Atlanta Algebra Young People's Project. It offers full tuition for a Master's of Art in Teaching in Secondary Mathematics to Clark Atlanta University, along with a $12,000 annual stipend for our teacher fellows who are invited into this program. The purpose of the grant is to increase African-American STEM teacher workforce, especially in our STEM areas that are hard to fill. We are excited to introduce from Clark Atlanta University, Dean Fidel Turner, Dr. Sean Warner, the principal investigator on the grant, Dr. Jaquita Henderson, our co-PI, and then from the Atlanta Algebra Project, Young People's Project, Dr. Brian Lawler. From Genesis Innovation Academy, Dr. Sims. And of course, our first cohort of fellows who will be joining us in Clayton County and in Genesis Innovation Academy, Bridget Pedway, Corey Michael, Patricia Knoll.
Dr. Clark.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you have them to please come up so we can see them? Come on up, you all.
If you would please come forward.
We want the public to see you all. Come on up, please. Everyone. Thank you.
Quatisha Nolly, Chris Ham, Ethan James, Tawanda Roberts, Larry Samuels, and LaTabitha King.
We can also have the faculty from Clark Atlanta. You all come up so we can see you all. People are watching this meeting, and we're very proud of the partnership that we're having. And give them a little detail.
So out of our 8 candidates, 3 will be joining Genesis Innovation Academy and 5 will be joining Clayton County this coming school year. And then this is cohort number 1. Cohort number 2 will start next year, where we will add another 12 candidates total between Genesis Innovation Academy and Clayton County Public Schools.
Dr. Clark, I think you might want to give them a little detail about their study and the whole stipend and all that type. Can you add that? I think that would be, maybe we'll get some more candidates.
Yes, ma'am. It is a 14-month program with Clark Atlanta University. It is a free program, no tuition, and they get a $12,000 annual stipend on top of their salary for the next 4 years.
Yes.
5 years. And we will have another cohort next year, so we are still accepting applicants.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Did we get a picture?
All right.
We're looking forward to this partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Yeah, go ahead. Dr. Clark? You- Dr. Clark did not tell you that she is also a co-principal investigator. She's also been very instrumental in getting this grant started, along with Clark Atlanta University. And I just want to say congratulations and thank you very much. Thank you. So again, thank you, members of the board. I want to share with you a brief update from the division. There we go. So we're here tonight. I want to share a couple of things that are going on. Right now, we are in the midst of administering the Georgia milestones and the Georgia Alternative Assessment. As of today, we have launched over 20,000 end-of-course test sessions. 20,000. That's covering nearly 3,400 students. So our students take multiple assessments. And during this time, we have had no major glitches reported in our process with our technology. Very excited about that. The technology department has been ensuring that our schools are receiving the technology and support that they need, and that those technologies are fully operable. And our research evaluation assessment, REA department, are also troubleshooting with our schools to ensure we have a smooth testing process. We will continue testing until the middle of May. In this week, we are testing the end of course exam for our middle school. And then following that, we will have our end of grade assessments in our middle and elementary schools. We receive our results, our preliminary results begin to populate next month. And if you recall, at one point, we used to bring the preliminary GMAS results to the board. We will reestablish that and begin to bring the preliminary results to the board in June, late May, early June. And why? Because we are now testing later, and so our testing will end at the middle of May. And so it will give the Georgia Department of Education opportunities to score the exams and then to begin to populate those results. And when we get to a good number of results, we will bring to you our preliminary findings, and just be mindful that those informations will only represent the preliminary, and the official data will come from the Georgia Department of Education later in June. In addition to the good work that's happening in the Department of Technology, on Friday, the department sent out a communication to our school leaders to inform them that beginning this school year, we will collect our computers and iPad devices. However, we will make provisions for our students who are engaging in summer learning to ensure that they have access to the computers. So again, that process for collecting the computers and iPad are being developed. We just share it with the schools to give them a heads up that we will be collecting those devices. And Mr. Smith, who is the chief of the department, will be establishing a committee that composed of principals and other individuals throughout the district to find the best process for collecting those devices and securing them and ensuring that they are ready to distribute at the beginning of the school year. Meanwhile, I have a brief update on our summer learning activities. As of today, we have for our Summer Enrichment Academy, which is our math and language arts and STEM, for those students who were struggling in those math and language arts content area. We have 2,729 students enrolled for our summer school. That again is 2,729. For our Advanced Learning Academy, for those students who are in our high potential, gifted programs, honors programs, we have 780 middle and high school students enrolled. And then for our STEM Academy, we have 1,188 students enrolled. Thus far, we have 4,697 students enrolled in one of these summer camps. In terms of our summer enrichment academic, we are reaching our maximum capacity due to finding our staff to want to work in our programs. Our advanced learning academies for our middle and high school has reached its maximum because of staffing. And our STEM program, we are simply filled to capacity for that program. We actually have a wait list for our STEM programs. And so right now, we are in the process of identifying and hiring staff and scheduling bus routes for our students who have registered, because we provide transportation for our students. And updates on counts of students enrolled and other matters pertaining to summer school, we'll provide that information later during the summer. We want to bring to you all the information so you can continue to see our progress and how our monies have been spent. In addition to the GMAS and summer programs, throughout our school, we have many activities that we want to encourage you to participate, and we invite our parents, our stakeholders to join us. We have our move-on ceremonies at our terminal grade levels for 5th grade to 6th or 8th grade to 9th, and sometimes from kindergarten to 1st. And so those are taking place at our schools. We have our honor stage program, we have our recitals and student performances, we even have our proms and senior activities, baccalaureate, and of course, we have for our seniors and their parents and guardians, our commencements program. Again, we encourage you to participate and also contact our schools if you want more details about these wonderful opportunities for our students. Tonight, members of the board, you have an opportunity to make decisions about our textbook adoption. We have textbooks adoptions presented for health, physical education, K-12 math, as well as our early learning and pre-K. The executive summaries were included in the board presentation. And also you have for our purchasing report, you have the listing of various summer resources that have been recommended for use. And if you see the cost, I definitely want you not to be shocked. What we're trying to do is provide resources for at least 2 years to sustain the work that we're doing, and also to make sure that we have enough resources and supplies for our students based on our projected enrollment. For example, for our secondary enrichment academy, we projected 5,000 students, and so we make a proposal for 5,000 students, plus more for next year's budget. However, we only will purchase what we need based on the enrollment. So we didn't want to have to come back to the board and say, will you please approve this purchase again? Because we know that summertime is short. So what we did was we wanted to project for 2 years and project to have enough that we would be able to purchase what we need once that approval is made. And so if they have any questions, that's it.
Ms. Cooper.
Hey, Dr. Young. Just a really quick question. I think I heard you say that the different academies and programs this summer were filled to capacity, and it was one that was still open. Is that the summer enrichment? And I don't think I heard a deadline. Is there?
We don't have any still open right now.
Oh, it's none.
None are
Okay.
open, because even if we wanted to, and we have capacity, space capacity,
Right.
but our capacity is limited to by the number of teachers who want to work in the program.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha. So,
And so we pay them $45 per hour.
okay. And I know you kind of mentioned, I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, or you were just including it all in your presentation tonight, where you said the summer resources, because I was looking at the I just lost my train of thought, the purchase report.
Mhm.
And I saw all the summer enrichment resources that we were buying. So you kind of explained now you didn't want to come back to us as far, because I did see, the price tag on it. And of course, anything that's going to help our kids and, move us to where we want to move to get those numbers up that we're
Yes,
looking
ma'am.
for. So I think you kind of explained that too. But if there are other opportunities, because I've had a few parents to reach out to me about summer programs that we have in the county, how are we getting that information out? Let's just say some of the students don't decide to come. How are we disseminating that information out to the community to let them know that there are openings? And I did hear you say a waiting list for some of the programs too.
Yes, ma'am. We have a waiting list for our STEM, and also we're building a waiting list for our Advanced Learning Academy. But those, the Advanced Learning Academy for our middle is maxed out due to staffing. We would love to open these programs up if we can find teachers, and what we can do is create wait lists, but I don't want parents to miss out on other opportunities because we have a wait list and we're not able to staff up for those positions. I just don't want to disappoint them there. Okay.
Ms. Bowles.
Good afternoon, Dr. Young.
Hello, Dr.
Thank you. That was a very robust update. I only have one question. It's about assessments. Sometimes throughout the year, we give MAP tests as benchmarks. My question is about, and I know we do a pre-test at the beginning of the year, the end of the year testing like GMAS and EOCTs, does that serve as the end of year test for our scholars and district, or is there also an end of year MAP test?
Yes, we have an end of year MAP test that was administered in March to give our schools one more opportunity to see where the students are. And then our Georgia Milestones assessment occurred in the middle, it began on April the 18th.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Ms. Williams.
Hello, good evening.
Good
Question
evening.
about the STEM camp
Yes, ma'am.
prices. You saying that the number that we voting on is for 2 years?
Yes.
So it will not exceed that number, but you're only gonna get what we need for each
Yeah,
year?
we're going to get what we need and try to project using good numbers. For example, if we have, let's say 780 kids for us, 1,000, let's say 1,200 kids for our STEM camp. And so instead of ordering for just 1,200, we may order like for 2,400 or 2,600.
Okay.
You have mentioned that we have a shortage of teachers. Any reason why staff, central office staff, can't teach?
I would be very difficult to answer that question, but we can certainly look into it and see.
How many students are we gonna have as far as, because you called out the numbers and it wasn't really clear. I heard something maybe about 3,000 students. Those 3,000 students are in, I think you said 2,700. What area are they going to be in for summer school?
You mean in terms of content area?
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's in mathematics and language arts. When language arts would be the reading and the writing, and then we also have a STEM component to that as well.
All right, the only reason I'm saying this, our scores are very low, and I would think that we would know right now some students that could benefit from summer school. And some of the people that I'm hearing from are parents who have students with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that we're not telling these parents that their children can also be in these classes. I think they specifically think that their children need to be in classes for special needs. But we should also be hiring people that just as in the regular school year.
Mm-hmm.
So have we not thought about, are we allowing substitute teachers to teach summer school?
May I get back with you on that to look and
Okay,
see that?
because I'm just saying some substitute teachers have degrees. And if they're teaching during the regular school year, I think we really need to try to monopolize on however many students that we can get in summer school. If we're gonna if we plan on improving student achievement in Clayton County. And I think that it might help, I know we got a lot of people that got promoted, but, y'all might need to go on Dr. Smith, Doug, Dr. Hendricks. I'm looking at some of these people. Y'all might need to go on in there, just if you just did it one day a week. Because you remember back in the day when you had an administrative certificate that you did, it was a requirement to go into the schools and teach for 5 days. I remember, I'm looking at Dr. Radcliffe. I used to hang out in the gym. I like teaching PE. That seemed like the place to be. But maybe maybe we need to get back to our little roots and see if we can do some things. Dr. Haney.
Hey, Dr. Young.
I love Dr. Haney.
Could you just repeat those numbers again?
Sure.
You said 7,029. What was
For, let me go back again.
Okay.
For our summer, you mean it's for the summer school program? Okay. Summer Enrichment Academy, which is for the enrichment for mathematics and language arts. We have 2,729 K-8 students. We have for our Advanced Learning Academy for middle and high, and those is for our honors gifted high potential students. We have 780. And for our STEM camp, we have 1,188. Thus far today, we have in these three programs, 4,697 students. And just to be mindful, remind you all, we sent letters home to all of our students who are eligible for our summer enrichment program, and we provided information to our parents on how to register. We reopened the registration process for our parents, and it has since closed. If we find more teachers to be able to work in the program, we will certainly reopen it and allow students to register up to a point. Just be mindful, we want to ensure that they have transportation, so we need to also consider the deadlines from our Department of Transportation.
Thank you.
Mr. Straker.
Dr. Young, quick question, actually two questions. When an individual retires after coming out of teaching, do they lose their certifications, or do they have to renew or recertify? Or
if you want to continue to be certified to be a teacher or to teach or even be a leader, you need to renew your certification.
Okay,
But
the reason I asked that question is just now I want to step to the left and say, as Ms. Goree is volunteering all these people to teach in summer school, I just wanted to make sure her certification was good enough for Dr. Smith to assign her to one of the schools.
Yes, we have to have a clear renewable certificate. Our retirement certificate will not do the work.
Dr. Duncan, can you tap into some of your TAP students? Can you tap into some of your TAP students to help us out?
Yeah, she's trying to see, can TAP people help us out? Because I just would really like to know, for example, we have, what do we have? We're using like tutor.com or whatever. Some of our kids might just need to have a little tutoring. Is there a requirement that these individuals that are teaching need to have a teaching certificate? It's summer school. Is it a requirement?
In our description, yes. In our description of the classroom teacher, yes.
But can we
look at it?
Yes.
We can look at it.
And the other question that I want to ask, last year, we set aside $1 million to have a partnership with Parks and Recreation. I believe Ms. Greenwood was the person that was in charge of doing that last year. Do we have any partnership with,
Ms. Correa, I was not aware of that amount of money and that relationship until we talked earlier today, and I will follow up on that.
Okay, because there is $1 million out there, and if nothing else, then I would say, because we have that money, and I know we have some grant money or whatever that we need to spend for summer learning loss, that if we don't have the capacity to do it, then maybe we need to talk to some of these learning centers, some of the centers that are in the community where they have summer programs. And maybe we can get our students enrolled there and maybe offer them some of the funds. Because either way it goes, if their children are in Clayton County, we need them, to get any assistance that is possible.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you for
Thank
that.
you. And for tutor.com, our students have access to tutor.com year-round. And so if they are engaged in summer learning or want to do any extra work, they can always use that resource to support them, even for test preparation for colleges. So, thank you.
One other question I see, Ms. Cooper.
Dr. Young, you just mentioned tutor.com. Can you tell me what's the percentage of our students that use that tool?
I looked at it the other day. I just can't remember the percentage of students, but I can say this, that the highest usage is from our high schools, and those schools such as Elite Scholars, Stillwell, which are using it for essays, and then our next highest usage are with our elementary students.
And let me ask you just a follow-up question. You mentioned that we're paying teachers, you said $45
Yes,
an
ma'am.
hour.
Mhm.
Would that be equivalent to their daily rate as a teacher?
I'm not for sure what that would be for the daily rate. I don't want to say yes or no. Depends on the teacher, but we can definitely look at that since we know our teachers' salary.
Well, it would seem to me we would be paying our teachers a daily rate.
And we also, because we're using federal funds, we have to be very careful in how we pay our teachers if we're just relying solely on those federal funds.
Oh, right, so I guess federal funds might require the teaching certificate, all of that, but that other $1 million, I
Could be for
believe that's
something.
coming from general funds might not.
Okay, yes, we
So
consider that.
I'd just like for us to use the money wisely since the money's been allotted. All right, thank you.
All right, thank
Any
you
other
very much.
questions, board members?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the proposed agenda from the superintendent and chair, you want to call up Dr. Smith? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Dr. Young. If we could get Mrs. Ramona Bibbins to come up to provide a business services update. Thank you, Dr. Young.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, and Interim Superintendent Dr. Smith. This evening, I'll be presenting the financials as of March 31st, 2023. So as year-to-date, our revenue collections, we've collected 88.5% of our budgeted taxes. We've collected all of our local revenue. We've actually exceeded our budget of $5.5 million. We've collected $6.8 million. And QBE, we collected 63% of that and 54% of our federal revenue. So of our total budgeted $548.4 million, we've collected 72.6% of our revenues for the year. And on the expenditure side, we've collected 67.5% at $369.9 million. And with us being 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year, that's 75%. We've actually, our spending is below that threshold at this time. Any questions on the financial report before I move to the SPLOST?
Any questions? I don't see any.
Okay. On the SPLOST, this shows for January through March as compared to last year. So for the first quarter of this year, of the calendar year, we collected $15.6 million. And last year at this time, we had collected 15.3. So collections are up by about 3% on our SPLOST revenue for this year. And as you, by the month, you can see January was up slightly. February was down a little bit, not much. And March, of course, was up by almost $200,000. Any questions on the SPLOST?
Any SPLOST questions? Seeing none.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And then the last item is our purchasing report. You should have received those items. On report A, that's all the consumables. Report B is non-consumables that are greater than $10,000 but less than $50,000. And on report C, those are contracts that are greater than $50,000. And I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have on the purchasing report.
Any questions? Have we made it to C yet?
I'm sorry?
I said, we made it to C?
Oh, yes, contracts that are greater than 50,000. So, report A was for the consumables. Report B is for non-consumables, it's greater than 10,000 but less than 50,000. Then report C are the contracts that are greater than 50,000.
Do we have any questions on C? I don't see any questions.
Okay, that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pivens. If you could,
I did want to tease her about one thing, though. Don't you all think of it? We have a great, not only is she a great CFO, but I just learned at the sneaker ball on last Saturday that she's also a great singer.
I didn't even know that.
She tore up a song on that.
I can carry a tune, that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Pivens. Could have Mr. Ronnie Joseph come up and provide a construction update.
Good evening once again, board members and Superintendent Dr. Smith. You've received the SPLOST construction update for the month of April, 3 payments totaling $615,000. There is one deductive change order in the amount of negative $7 million for the Forest Park Middle School project. Additionally, you received the resolution to modify fiscal year 19 Georgia DOE application, restoring $35,000 to the state entitlement account for the district. Are there any questions about both agenda items?
Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
Thank you.
Ms. Albritton?
Did we need to do something with this resolution? Before she starts, Mr. Joseph, do we need to do anything with the resolution for, I believe, at Kilpatrick, or was it just for information only?
No, ma'am. When you vote on the consent agenda next Monday, that'll be suffice.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. L.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, other members of the board, Interim Superintendent Dr. Smith, colleagues, and community members. The personnel changes report summarizes all personnel actions for the period of March 9th through March 31st of 2023. All human resources updates were submitted to the Board of Education for your review. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have questions? I actually have a question. I don't see any. Okay, Dr. Haney.
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but I was just reading the report and I was going over it. And I was looking at the number of engagements when you all go to the external recruitment events. So like on February 16th, you all had zero, we had engagements for North Carolina AT&T. Were they just not interested in us, or I mean, what was up with that?
If I recall, let me get to that particular one. I believe that was a virtual fair. Yes, so that it was a virtual fair, and generally what happens with virtual fairs is the students who are participating are able to schedule times with school districts. In that particular fair, there were no students who attended who engaged with our team. And part of that is the number of students overall for the fair, and then other reasons that were shared was our proximity to North Carolina. So the majority of those who did attend were planning to stay there. And we use this information to do return on investment. So potentially that would be a fair that we would not participate in going forward.
Are we looking to employ any students in Clayton County Public Schools over the summer? And if so, have we posted jobs?
Madam Chair, I'm going to be in conversation with Mrs. Bivens about that in order to make certain that we have it in the budget to do so, but it would be our desire to do that.
Okay, because I'm just, I'm still thinking about this $1 million that was set aside. And I just wanted to go to students some type of a way, if it's not instructionally, if it were, because I guess my vision is that for our summer school or whatever, that we could hire students as, you know, to help with tutoring or help in classrooms. We have a lot of kids that are in our high schools that would be great. They need summer jobs. Some of them are about to go to college. I think that would be great for us to try to have some students to come in and work with our teachers in the summertime to, help with instruction or even things like, because I'm not really sure what the length of the day will be for summer school. I'm hoping that you all, it won't just all be sitting behind a desk, that you'll let them go down to the gym, run around, get, some energy off. But that would be a great idea. And, it doesn't also necessarily just have to be for those so-called scholarly students. Some of those students that have been a pain in the behind, maybe if you gave them some work to do in the summer, that, they might even change their whole attitude towards school and all of that. And then my other question would be, how are we looking, since contracts have come back, how are we looking as far as, how do you think we'll be as far as when we start school next year?
Right, so we know that the number of vacancies is going to be pretty fluid over the next couple of months, just because of typical attrition. So the number of employees who will resign, those that will retire. And then we have that additional cohort who did sign their contract, but they have until mid-June, June 15th, to resign without penalty. So we know the number is fluid from week to week. As of last Thursday, the number of teaching vacancies was 455.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say this again to all these area superintendents that are sitting out here in the audience. I know I've been getting some emails from some people that you all are thinking about letting go. And I wish you all could have a conversation and see if you can't do some things to help those people stay. Because, we have a teacher shortage. And sometimes it's not always the teachers. Sometimes our administrators, it goes both ways. I wish maybe we could at least look at maybe doing some transferring or some things that we could help them to be more successful, and especially our first year teachers, because everybody should remember their first year. I was remembering my first year. It's something I promised my class, and I just thank the Lord that I made it through that first year. Ms. Bowles, I thought I saw your light.
Yes, just to, Ms. Albritton, you said that there were 455, I think, signed and collected already. And I just wondered if you knew off the top of your head what percentage that was.
So the 455 was actual vacancies as of last Thursday, but I'm happy to, as of today, we've done 2 contract distributions, and the last contract distribution is May 5th. So I can aggregate just round 1 and round 2 and share that with Dr. Smith for distribution.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay. Oh, Ms. Cooper.
Hey, Ms. Albritton, just really quickly, they were asking questions and I thought about something. Could you tell me how many virtual job fairs do we have versus face-to-face? And then what's the cost, if any, is attached to that with the face-to-face and the virtual? And also, I'm just trying to, in my head, see like our cost of return, like are we getting the bang for our buck?
So when we mentioned virtual job fairs a moment ago, that was actually a job fair sponsored by North Carolina A&T. So this year, we've only participated in virtual job fairs. We've not hosted virtual job fairs. So all of the district hosted job fairs have returned to face-to-face. When we were hosting virtual job fairs, we were using a platform designed for that purpose. But we're no longer using that because we've returned to face-to-face. The cost of individual job fairs, the collegiate ones that we attend, for example, vary by institution. So some of them are free, some of them are $25, and then there's one that we participate in annually that's about $700. So that there is an extreme range.
I don't see any other questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Albritton. Dr. Young?
Tonight, board members, we have 4 textbook adoptions we'd like to share with you. And these will be our presenters who will share with you just a brief overview. For our health textbook adoption, that will be Mr. Paul Scott. For our physical education textbook, Paul Scott. For our K-12 mathematics textbook adoption, that would be Ms. Tiffany Neely and Dr. Tanya Clark. And for our early learning pre-K textbook adoption, that would be Ms. Vicky Denard.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, Interim Superintendent Dr. Anthony Smith. I'll just take a brief moment and go over the health and physical education textbook adoption. First and foremost, the health textbook adoption request. We recommend that, first before I recommend that, the current health textbooks were adopted in 2017 for K through 5 and in 2011 for 6 through 12. In that time span, the Georgia Department of Ed had new revisions of standards. And so for us to align with those standards, it's important that we do new textbook adoptions. It is the recommendation that we adopt and purchase the Quaver Health and PE online curriculum as the K through 5 foundational resource for health. And the cost of that purchase, including barcoding and shipping, as well as related instructional materials, is $372,645. And that would be a 5-year adoption. The recommendation in grades 6 through 8 is that we adopt and purchase the Goodhart Wilcox Essential Health Skills for Middle Schools. And that comes to the physical impact for that to purchase that textbook, including barcode and shipping, as well as related instructional materials, is $470,545.47. And that is also a 5-year adoption. And then lastly, the recommendation for 9 through 12 is to adopt and purchase Goodhart Wilcox Essential Health Skills for high school. And the physical impact of that purchase would be $530,028.67. And that is also a 5-year adoption. So the current estimate for the cost of purchasing all K through 12 health textbooks, including barcoding and shipping, is $1,373,219.14. It is recommended that these textbooks and instructional resources for health in grades K through 12 are adopted and purchased from the selected vendors as outlined in your executive summary that you have. Any questions, please?
Are there any questions? Ms. Baker?
I'm going to have a question on your physical education books. You want to go over that first, and then I can ask my question?
Yeah, I can go ahead and go over the physical education.
Okay.
Yes, sure. So for the physical education resources, the recommendation, again, we know that the most recent revision of standards was in May of 2018 for the Georgia Department of Education. And our adopted materials currently are from 2011. So we have that need again to adopt materials that align with the new standards. The recommendation is to adopt and purchase the Goodhart Wilcox Fitness and Wellness Skills Curriculum as the foundational text for our personal fitness classes that occur in grades 9 through 12. And the physical impact of that purchase would be $668,250, and that is a 5-year adoption. Secondly, we have a recommendation to adopt and purchase the Human Kinetics Core Concepts in Athletic Training and Therapy textbook as the foundational text for principles of athletic training, sports medicine. That purchase would be only $4,860, and that is a 5-year adoption. I would like to share that the reason that is such a difference is that course is currently only offered at one high school. And so we don't have any other high schools that have expressed the interest to have that course. So that's why the number is so low for that one purchase there. And then we have a resource that we would like to purchase, and it's to purchase the IHT Spirit heart rate monitors. And those heart rate monitors would be used in our virtual learning academy for our fitness and wellness classes, and that comes to $59,908.10. So the current estimate for the cost of purchasing all 9 through 12 physical education textbooks is $733,018.10. And again, it is recommended that these textbooks and instructional resources for physical education in grades K through 12 are adopted and purchased from the selected vendors as outlined in the executive summary. And yes, ma'am, your question.
Okay, I'm going to give my age here, and the fact that when I was in school, the only time we needed a textbook in our PE class was when we took the health section, which was a quarter or whatever it was. So I can never recall my children coming home with a PE textbook. So could you explain for those of us who don't understand the textbook for PE?
Well, it is for the personal fitness class. In the state of Georgia, there are 2 classes that are required for graduation in health and physical education content. One is the health class that's taught in 9th grade, and the second one is the personal fitness class. So we felt it was appropriate because that textbook allows the students to gain knowledge of comprehensive personal fitness, and it gives them the ability to build a fitness plan for themselves, not only when they're in 9th grade, but hopefully continuing into their future life. So that's the reason the textbook is asked for.
Okay, like I said, I don't, I have 2 of my own, and I never remember them coming home with that textbook.
Right.
So I just wanted to know when we changed.
And we typically don't do that in the other physical education classes. We use an open source that is free to the district, that is vetted and very well thought out, and we use it, and it's actually top of the line. So in our other physical education classes.
I think most people think that PE is simply playing games. People don't realize that a person that majors in physical education can actually go to medical school because you are learning kinesiology, out the body systems, all those types of things. And I think people are unaware of that. Yes. I thought when I went to college, I was just gonna major in PE. I figured I know how to play badminton and all those types of things. And then I realized what I needed to take in order to,
right.
For the major.
And we had science people on our
Right.
committee just for that reason, because it does cover a wide range of exercise, physiology,
Right.
and fitness.
Okay.
Plus, when we think about obesity and all those types of things as far as personal fitness and all that is concerned. Ms. Williams.
For the cost for the 5-year adoption, is that over the 5-year period or per year?
No, that's the total cost.
Over the 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
I think probably the only concern too, when we think about, like I said, I looked at yours, I said, I'm good with yours. But I guess my issue is, I don't think I've seen children with books in so long. I just wonder, the books we had before, I guess, something's changed in the curriculum and we need to have them. But I just hope that when school starts next year, I'll really see students with books, with paper and pencil, and going back to some of the things that I think are really necessary for them to, to excel.
Right.
So,
All right.
Any other questions? You want to say something?
No, thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Superintendent Smith, board members, and our community. I'm Dr. Tanya Clark once again, and Ms. Neely and I represent respectively elementary and secondary mathematics. This evening, we will present the selected K-12 mathematics instructional resources for approval to adopt and purchase. The adoption process followed the procedures and timeline as described in the background information on page 2 of your executive summary.
If you would call your attention to page 5 of your executive summary, there are 2 tables. The first table, row 1, displays the recommended resources for K-12 core content. That total includes 4th year elective courses for our high school classes. The second row in that table speaks to the recommended resources for intervention. The third row speaks to the recommended resources for supplement. Additionally, in your executive summary, that table that begins on page 5, the second table, it references the total cost by vendor and the total cost for the K-12 mathematics instructional resources if approved.
So at this point, we will recommend that the presented textbooks and related instructional materials for mathematics in grades K through 12 for core, intervention, and supplement be adopted and purchased for the selected vendors as outlined in the executive summary. Are there any questions?
Ms. Bowles?
Are these, good evening, are these consumable textbooks, or are they the ones you like leave in your teacher's desk and get passed down each year? Or does each scholar, can you tell us a little bit more about what all this includes?
Yes. So for our K-5 textbooks, those are consumable and they will be replenished each year. For our 6-8 textbooks, some of those are consumable and will be replenished. Some of those are non-consumable textbooks. And just about all of our high school textbooks are non-consumable.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. With the consumable textbooks and this request for a 5-year period, because I understand this is a huge investment, but our kids are worth it, and it sounds like it lasts 5 years. For consumable textbooks, those are replaced each year,
Yes.
and that price is included in this for 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now my concern is if I drive to Fayette County and they're purchasing math books, will they be doing the same thing like this? Because I guess what I see is, I think I wouldn't have a problem with it if we were with one vendor, like K through 5, but I see K through 2, then I see someone else with 3 through 5, that bothers me. And the thing that I do know about math is that math is math. It doesn't change. And I just don't understand. The one thing that I hear about from teachers is this: we start off with, we use one product, and then by the time they think they have it mastered, we jump to something else. Are we jumping from another? What were we using? Is this what we were using before, or is this the same company, or what?
This is actually a different company.
Right.
And to your question or point, Ms. Goree, the team that was selected to be a part of the adoption committee, we specifically wanted a group to look at K2 because they have a catered eye to the needs of those students versus the eye for 3-5 and those needs that those students would have.
Well, now, I'm the one that wanted a separate elementary coordinator.
Yes, ma'am.
So I do understand that, but what I don't understand is, I just don't understand why I'm looking at 2 or 3 different products. And what I would like to see is some better test scores, because all I see are test scores that are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, math doesn't change. It's not like with social studies, I can see we need to have different textbooks. And then again, I hate for you, I guess I should have gotten Mr. Scott first before he left, is the fact that, you all ask us to approve this stuff, but guess what? we haven't seen any of the books, although I think that those are the books that are at the back of the cafe. Are those the books?
Yes.
But guess what? Nobody told us that. So we have to approve them, but we haven't really looked at them. And last year, we kind of held up everything. I'm not gonna try to hold everything up this year. And you know, you all gave us a workshop, but I'm gonna say this again, you all. Well, I'm just one vote, but if we're going to adopt anything next year, please allow the board to be a part of the process instead of just coming to us when it's time to vote. And let us know that I actually did go back there and look at some of the books, but I'm not sure the rest of the board even knows that those books were back there, because we have somebody on our team, which was Dr. Rump Carter, that we wanted her to be a part of the process, although I know we've changed some things. So we're going forward, we hope that we can, you know, be a part of the process. And I'm definitely hope these are going to be materials that will show some help in student achievement.
All right.
Come on up, Dr. Young. You want to say something? I see you getting Nancy over there. And I know you knew.
Thank you, Ms. Gurry, for those remarks. We're taking note of that, but let me also share with the board some of the things we're trying to do to make this process better. We are going to change our timeline for the textbook adoption. We want to come to you in December. That's one thing. But another thing we want to share with you is that we're trying to give teachers an opportunity to learn about these new tools. And so we can't do it this year for math, but moving forward, we want to have an adoption, and then we want to have a training, and then we want to have an implementation. So although you're going to vote on the intervention program, we're not going to implement that new intervention program next year. We're actually going to spend a full year on training our teachers to use that intervention, because these are our most at-risk students, and we want to give them the time and the space to learn how to use that tool more effectively, so when they come back in 24, 25, we will be implementing that tool with greater success. And so that's how we would like to approach our textbook adoption process: adopt, train, implement. And so please give us some time to catch up with the adoption process so that we'll be able to do that type of work. In addition, we know we rolled out the language arts textbook last year, and we are going to redo that entire process now that we have all of our materials in the schools. And so we're starting over with the training, and so that teachers will feel much more comfortable with that implementation. So just want to share that with you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Any other questions, comments? All right.
Mr. Nard?
Greetings, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, board members, Interim Superintendent, Dr. Smith, and community members. The Early Learning Department's current curriculum weekend began the sunset process as of August 2022. So of highlight to the submitted executive summary, Frog Street Pre-K curriculum was chosen because it is a comprehensive dual language program organized around 9 thematic themes. And those themes include literacy, math, science, social studies, social emotional connections, a STEAM component, technology, assessment, and family engagement. Activities from this curriculum were paired to our GELS, which are our Georgia Early Learning Standards that we teach from in pre-K, and then also aligned to GKIDS, which is the Georgia Kindergarten Inventory of Developing Skills and Kindergarten Standards. It is the recommendation that the new pre-K curriculum and all related instructional resources and materials are adopted and purchased from the selected vendor, totaling $68,079.82. And this curriculum adoption will be reviewed every 5 years to ensure our current alignment to our state standards.
For that price, that is good for 5 years.
Yes,
Are these books, any of these books consumable?
they are not consumable. We have materials, more the resources. Now, we do have the teacher's guides that are consumables, and there
Well,
are 9 of those.
I do like what you all have selected for pre-K. I really do. So that's a good thing.
Thank
But
you.
it just seems like seems to me like that should cost a little bit more, but I'm not gonna argue about that price.
Well, to that point, this is only for the district classes. So I have some state money that I have to use for the others.
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
Yes.
all right. I know that, I think that's everything. I think, do we have any comments? Okay, but before, this is not for you. I'm good.
Thank you, Mr. Nard.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the board matters, one thing that, since we've had your staff come up, Dr. Smith, and I really meant to say this when Dr. Young was up here discussing end of the year activities. I did receive a couple of text messages today regarding end of year programs, and you all, please don't tell these little kindergarten parents that want to have a nice little cap and gown ceremony at their schools, the principals, don't tell them that it's the board that's saying they can't do it. Because I know at the school where my granddaughter went to, they did have cap and gown. Can you all, if the principals at these individual schools are making these decisions, can they just man up or woman up and say, we're not doing caps and gowns at our school, and don't make the board members the bad guys? Because those are supposed to be individual activities, and I know some schools, so I know some of my middle schools have done cap and gown. Of course, I'm all for it myself, because I don't know, you don't know if tomorrow's promise, so I'm for it. But please don't make people think that we're the ones that are saying no to these programs. I just think that principals, this is my opinion, so y'all won't say I'm trying to do day-to-day operations. I think these are conversations that you need to have with your constituency, and things that, these parents are real happy to see their babies graduate or whatever, or what do y'all say? Y'all don't say graduate, moving on. So if you all could have those conversations and not make us the bad guys, it would be greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not aware of anybody encouraging folks not to do that. The only thing that we did was poll people to see the timing of when they were having their programs, to make certain that they didn't conflict with the resources relative to security and otherwise for our high school graduation programs that starts on the 24th. And we've got a pretty good schedule in place, and we're very supportive of all elementary, middle school programs relative to moving on ceremonies. We've talked with the chief, and we are supporting those programs. So I'm not sure where that came from.
All right,
Thank you.
It's a message. All right, the next item on the agenda for board matters are policy series J. And I believe the last meeting we had talked about changing some language. I have not received any other suggestions. And I'm just checking to see if there are any other suggestions this evening. Otherwise, next Monday, we are going to vote on those policies, because they need to get the handbooks out. And before, don't see any lights. And, oh, yes, Ms. Bowles.
I actually don't have any revisions to add, but I do wonder if our policy folks are here. These are the student policies, and just out of curiosity, I wonder how many students were involved in the editing of these policies, if any, just out of curiosity.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, members of the community, and the core cabinet at large. I do not know if any were of course, in the meeting, but there were several focus groups and committees that were convened by the Student Support Services Division, as well as those individuals who were in, now I want to say the different title, in SLI. So now we are TSI, TSI. So there were focus groups prior to us coming together for the general meeting that you all are aware of, where we come together and we speak to the rewritten.
Thank you. And I am familiar with our process, so this was not a gotcha moment. Just thinking about that as it relates to student policies and our student handbook. Again, the edits also look great. Just maybe next time we can ask our scholars, but that's on all of us, not you. So thanks.
Well, my pleasure.
Our interns will be given some information next week.
Okay.
We gave them
On
an
the policies?
assignment
Okay.
to look at the policy. So they may be doing a little presentation before we vote on them next week.
Absolutely. And I will be in touch with Dr. Carter to
Okay.
get their names, so that we'll be in touch with those individuals as well.
Yes.
And I did answer your question relative to the public participation part. So they are on eBoard for
Right.
any of the individuals in the public, and our communications team did put a banner. So individuals were flagged that they
Right.
are available for comment.
Yes, to Ms. Bowles' suggestion, I tried to make certain that because when we do policies, it's not just the board that has input, the public also has input. And as I said, I had not seen any in years. So I also went to the website to make certain that we were getting input. So if input's not coming, then I don't know what we can do to pull something out of people, but we will have our interns to give some input next week.
Thank you. Everyone
Okay.
have a good
Today, one other thing, today, Ms. Williams and I did travel to Macon to have a discussion regarding the legislative positions of GSBA. And so basically, there weren't many changes made other than discussing how boards, and it's actually the information that was given was from one school district to show that when we are having, since we're in the budget season, and to make sure that we have the right message regarding millage and taxation, and so that they understand the difference between E-SPLOS and taxation on property. So basically, those were the only things that were discussed. I actually did miss the deadline to submit information. The board mentioned, I put out there about us having, possibly looking at board members having a retirement option, but I missed the deadline, and I didn't really get any input anyway, so it's something that we can look at next year for the Governmental Operations Committee. Basically, that's all that we have for board matters. The next thing on the agenda is to look at approving the agenda for the next board meeting. And for those people that are here in the boardroom, we will have our next board meeting at the Performing Arts Center, since we do have a lot of board recognitions to give out. And last year when we had it here, it was so many people in the building that we actually had a problem with our sound system. It was very hot, and I think that bothered the equipment. So we will be meeting at the Performing Arts Center. So look at the agenda, board members, and see if there's if everything is all right. If so, I believe that I need to get a motion for the agenda for our next, Mr. Christmas.
Move, Madam Chair.
And a second, Mr. Straker.
I second the motion, Madam
All right,
Chair.
I need you to vote. All right, it's a unanimous vote. I think we've covered everything. We are adjourned.